Zoom, we're waiting for Greg. I don't know if you can answer a question now about the document you shared with us. I was wondering in the section that says blockers to testnet 3, it says to be determined, and yet, but apparently there are no blockers.
Right. I mean, where we are, basically the blockers, I guess, previously was cost accounting. And at the moment where we are is cost accounting is getting very close to be released. I'm going to be speaking to where we are. So the main chunk of code of cost accounting is in that system deploy, that 2778 PR, which is a very massive PR. So that's in review right now. And then we will actually in parallel, because it is a big PR, it's taking a little bit longer to review. So while the reviews are going on, we're also going to run some tests. There is a second PR that we're expecting in a few hours, or let's say within the next day. So together, all of that should give sufficient cost accounting functionality that we should be able to test in parallel as the PR reviews are going on. And that should move us towards releasing testnet once those things are done. But so that's a little bit of, you stole a little bit of my thunder, but I'll repeat that later. So does that answer your question, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've sensed some optimism from other people that there could be a testnet 3 out by the end of the week.
That's what we're shooting for. So I'm wondering, should we wait for Greg or get started?
Yeah, I'd say we could get started.
Okay, I'll start with the tech update, and let me share my screen. And hopefully Greg will join by the time or while we're in the tech update. So I think you should be able to see my screen now. Yes?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, so we are running 0915 still on the testnet. We were actually trying to do 0916 without cost accounting. And as we were running some tests, we discovered that the fairness constraint could use some improvement. So we held off on the 0916, but hopefully now 0916 will go out soon. And whether we wait for the cost accounting tests to finish, or whether we want to do 2 releases in quick succession within a matter of a few days from each other, I guess is something that we're looking at. But the fairness constraint stuff, as well as the finalization, some of the finalization stuff is in, and I'll speak to that in a little bit more detail in a little bit. Okay, so the main focus, of course, is reaching testnet 3, and especially within there, the main thing that's really that needs to be completed is the cost accounting. Then there are other features or items that we're working on, like the reducing the long proposal times. Some additional testing for multi-sig features is still going on because we switched effort from multi-sig to doing combinatorial tests for cost accounting. So that one is, there's a little bit still hanging there in the multi-sig in the background. And the Casper tests, and increasingly there'll be more focus on, how do we harden this and how do we run it for different network conditions, the whole network, and see what we discover in terms of bugs and instabilities and all that. So that's kind of where we are. So cost accounting, the scope of work is in that gist on GitHub. And previously in this section, there were a bunch of preliminary tasks that I was listing. A lot of them are removed. Actually, I should have removed the first one also, because that's also merged now. And the other one is has been the one on term width. This one here that I'm talking about. So that has been reviewed. Some changes for requests were made, and those changes are made. It's just waiting for the final review and merge. And this one, the protocol making the POS methods, making them secure, the private POS methods secure. That's also in review. The big work in cost accounting really is this system deploy construct, and that now has a lot of logic also built into it, charging logic built into it. That's the 2778 pull request that's being reviewed, and because it is a huge one, we're actually having people review it in sections, and we should be able to merge that as soon as those reviews are done. There is a second PR that's also part of the main work in the charging logic and replay logic and refund logic for cost accounting. That is being worked on. That should be coming in soon. So with that, and with this 2778, the cost accounting work is done, other than the running tests on it. So what we plan to do is, like I mentioned earlier, Mike Stay put some of the multi-sig work on hold to create these combinatorial Roland terms based tests for cost accounting, so that we can test the stability of cost accounting across various conditions. So that's going to be available soon. And with all of this, we're going to run tests in parallel on cost accounting in Sandbox as the reviews are going on, so that we don't lose too much time. And this way, that if the tests reveal something or if the reviews reveal something, people can get on it and fix that right away. So that's where we are. This remaining chunks of work is ongoing, the integration tests. And I think the modifying existing tests is going on as they write the logic to, they write the logic, test it, and if something is not working, they change the test or the logic depending on what makes sense. So that's where we are on cost accounting. I already talked to that last bullet point about parallel testing on Sandbox Net with in parallel to PR reviews. So that's where we are on cost accounting. We're kind of moving more towards, we're basically trying to get the last piece or round of logic in, and then we're moving towards tests and parallelizing the tests. That's the situation there. With long proposal times, we had put in the fairness constraint last time. It's so we put it in last week. I talked about it. It's a round robin fairness constraint. And what we did this time is basically to modify that based on the round robin among block creators, as opposed to trying to do round robin in what's in the queue for a validator. So that is being tested now and seems to work fine. And the review is going on that, and we should be getting that in soon. The other side that was being worked on is the finalization. There were a few different PRs being worked on that. One of the things we're trying to do is allow finalization as early as possible, and also persist it so that that kind of basically finalization becomes a first-class citizen in the system. So that's kind of the overall focus of this. And what this should allow for is like a clean DAG where you can start from the most recent finalized. I guess the piece that went in most recently is this 2787 pull request, which allows us to play with finalization, because depending on how much time it's taking, I mean, ideally you want to do it at the end of every block, but depending on how much time it takes, we may want to delay it a little bit. So that's why we have that as after end blocks, and then we'll play with performance, or we will test the performance and see if we can actually allow it after every block, which would be desirable. The latest we can do finalization is before we rotate the validators. But our goal is to try to do finalization more often, much more often than that. So that's kind of what we're working on that. The ticket on this, or the bug fix on the disallowing invalid blocks as parents, that's completed. The next piece is the multi-sig vault features. There was, in the reviews on the previous work that was done, there was basically a potential security issue that was identified in terms of exposing keys. So Mike is in the process of fixing that and getting it ready for review. Is kind of where we are with that. One of the new features, if you would, is that bullet on creating an ability to leverage the wallet tools built for Ethereum, all the wallet tools built for Ethereum. So what we're trying to do is enable our node to understand and validate an Ethereum personal signature. So that's what we are implementing. So the two tickets are that 3866 and 3867 related to that. This is something that came up in the conversation Kenny had with MetaMask, and this was the approach that was.
Actually, it's not general Ethereum signatures. It's the MetaMask format for the Ethereum signatures. It's MetaMask specific.
Okay. Yeah. So this should allow operation with MetaMask. Greg, I just want to say that the way the ticket is written is more general than you were saying.
Yes, I understand. I mean, again, I could be wrong, but I believe that this is specific to MetaMask.
Okay. Yeah. No, I believe Tomislav is going for Ethereum signature in general, including the MetaMask one. But
yeah, but I think we handle Ethereum signatures in general. It's just the MetaMask format has an ETH prefix in front of it.
Okay. The other thing that we're trying to do is starting to capture some performance data. There are a couple things going on here. We are doing some capturing of the data and recording it in a spreadsheet on the development side, but also Lamut and other community members are also doing some performance tests. So hopefully, actually, in one of the upcoming community debriefs, we might have Lamut and others present kind of what they're seeing, how they're running the tests and what they're seeing. So that's where we are. The rest of it is hardening and optimization, bug fixes. There will be more and more focus on hardening soon. That's the tech update. Are there any questions?
Well, thanks for going ahead and giving the tech update without me. I appreciate that. Sorry, I was running a bit late, and I appreciate the update in general. I did want to mention that it's not necessarily desirable to do finalization after every block. You really want to look at the sweet spot, because not every there may be orphan blocks and other kinds of things. So there's a sweet spot somewhere in there, and that may change as network conditions change. So.
That's a good point, because I was speaking with Daniel about actually writing down the events or conditions at which would be optimal to do the finalization. Maybe that's something that we want to, that you can help define, so that we can, rather than just end blocks, maybe it should be an event or condition based type of a thing.
Sure. I mean, it's going to be a compromise no matter what we do. Some applications are going to want us to finalize more frequently, and some applications are going to want us to finalize less frequently. It's really domain specific. And so there's going to, as the DApp ecosystem starts to populate, there's going to be sort of constant tension there, which is again why shards are a good thing.
Right, which probably also says we need to make the algorithm a little bit more generic then, so that it can be adapted to whatever conditions.
Yeah, it needs to be dialable or tunable.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Cool. And I hopefully people understand. So what we've got is replay logic that Marcin is finishing up today, and then that's the end of the logic for the cost accounting. There's some RSpace stuff for mergeability that will push on the other side of launching testnet 3, which is really an optimization to give more throughput for the network. And so in advance of the PR reviews, we're going to go ahead and on Sandbox launch a branch with all of the cost accounting logic and start testing while the PR reviews are going on. That way we can get sort of the most optimal use of resources. And hopefully, with luck, it's really now just a couple of days before we've launched testnet 3. If we do run into any sort of unexpected behavior, we'll of course let the community know. But that's the status, and I really think we should, give kudos to Marcin and Joe and the entire dev team for working long hours and pushing to get us to this point. It was really a lot of good work on all sides. Okay, so in terms of results from the elections, we do have some comments, and we're going to go through the comments from the survey portion of the ballot and kind of summarize them for the community. Ian, do we have any thoughts about when that's going to happen?
The governance committee is meeting tomorrow. and put that on their agenda.
Okay, all right. We also need to reconstitute the compensation committee. There isn't any compensation committee currently constituted. So we're going to have to put that together. We now have a board of directors, and we need to get the we need to, like, at a minimum, get a policy for payment for directors who are not making a certain amount of money from the co-op. So far, that's been a little bit more haphazard, and we need to get a policy in for that. So we'd like to get the compensation committee reconstituted. There are other issues that we'd like to address as well. So hopefully there are people who are in the community who are interested in serving on the compensation committee. Let's see, I'm trying to think, are there any other major business issues? In the closed door session, we'll talk a little bit about our response to, and trying to think, I think that's about it. We're pushing the, we've got a group organized to go to China and meet with the Chinese leadership team, and also participate in the conference that's being put on by Fred Sau and his community. So any questions about any of those things? Talkative group. I think that's all the updates that we have. Did I miss anything, Ian? Anyone on the PR team? Okay, cool. So that's all the updates we've got. And are there any questions?
It's great news.
Yeah, well, I think it is really good news. I'm very excited. So are there any other questions, comments, concerns from the community? Going once? Twice? Okay, well, onward and upward. Looking forward to another community session next week.